It's been another big day, big week on the House floor today, obviously passing President Pasadomo's housing bill. And as I said when she came over to join us, when you go around the state and ask, hey, what are the top 3 things that we need to be working on? One of those was tort reform, which we did here and signed, the governor signed today. Another was affordable housing. Without fail, people said we have a housing issue. And so I just want to commend President Pasadomo on all of her hard work, her thoughtfulness, and what is truly a monumental, transformative bill to move the needle for affordable housing for every Floridian here in the state. We also obviously did constitutional carry, which I'm proud about, advancing the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding men and women, and also tackled ESG, which at its core, really, I heard a lot of things that the bill isn't about today, but what it really is at its core is using extreme economic power that comes from our individual investments, from everybody in this room and everybody listening, and stealing our voice and allowing a large entity like a BlackRock to speak only with their political voice on issues that belong in the political process. So if it's an issue of when we're going to stop driving cars with gasoline, those are issues that belong in the political process, not by being made outside that process by people who are not accountable and elected by the voters. And so 3 big bills today. And the other big thing that happened today, obviously, is the release of our House budget, which I have Chair Tom Leek, our appropriations chair, with us to answer questions on the budget that we're very excited about. We think it does a lot to take care of families and children. It does a lot to take care of infrastructure, to take care of our retirees and our first responders. And so there's a lot to like in this budget. We look forward to partnering with the Senate to get a budget that also returns a lot of money back to taxpayers, since we have record surpluses, but something we can all be proud about that addresses the core functions of government and does a lot of things that we'll talk about in the coming days. So, questions?
Mr. Speaker, President Pasadomo said yesterday that the expansion of the State Guard was a priority of yours, and I was just hoping you could talk about why we need such a big expansion of the State Guard, and did you work at all in coordination with the governor's office, and to what extent?
I mean, I think it's when you say priority, it's been a focus of mine, because I think the Florida State Guard can operate in lanes and mission sets that will be additive to all of our other agencies, not just the National Guard, but FDLE, FWC, all the other law enforcement agencies as well. And so we're having that discussion now about where the Guard can provide the value add, and I believe it can and will. I'm very impressed by the quality of the people who have applied. This is not going to be your typical, 18-year-old that's never served in the military or in law enforcement, but some people that have really had very, very significant experience in both law enforcement and or the military, who are stepping up to say, look, I want to serve my state in a way that, whether that's search and rescue or whatever those missions become. And so I think it can play a very valuable role, and yes, I'm committed to it.
Do you support spending $750,000 on Celebrite for the State Guard to have? Yeah, that was part of the,
okay.
It's in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, for them to have basically cell phone hacking technology, what police departments have.
Sure, for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Well, yes, so cybersecurity can be one of their missions, which is a very, very serious problem. You mentioned a number in the budget that is this much compared to what has been ransomed by name your county or city around the state of Florida over the last 6 months. So there's been a real shakedown, as many of you know, of local governments, particularly, that just don't have the resources to defend themselves against hacks. And so, yes, we have to get after cybersecurity, and that's one area that people with significant and deep expertise in cybersecurity can join the Florida State Guard, and they can help in that fight. So yes, I didn't recognize the particular.
On your coordination with the governor's office on this measure?
On
the State Guard.
State Guard? Well, I'm supportive of it. I'm a military guy. The governor's a military guy, and I think it's got a lot of value. And obviously, as it rolls out and starts to fulfill those missions like cybersecurity, the citizens of Florida will see that value.
President Pasadomo talked about going after some bad actors in the property insurance. Are you guys game there?
Right there with her. I mean, look, I'm a big believer in checks and balances, and so our tort bill took away some of the extra tools that allowed some, call them billboard lawyers or lawyers who just kind of sue to settle, who are generating garbage lawsuits to do so. We've taken those away. At the same time, insurers are human beings too, and you need adequate checks and balances to make sure they do the right thing. And so we're going to be looking at some additional measures we can undertake to go after bad acting insurance companies in addition to the other tools that are already in that toolbox.
Speaker, you got permitless carry done today. It's obviously going to go over to the Senate. But in the future, would you like to see open carry?
I mean, I support open carry. I've been candid with people that have asked me, but I'm also candid to say that I'm one of 160 people in the legislature, and because of that, you look at, do you want to make the perfect the enemy of the good? Do you want to fight for absolutely everything you want and have very little of what you want, or do you want to accept that this process is valuable because my perspective, your perspective, other members' perspective is not the end of the line, and we get a lot of value by listening to other people. And so there's a lot of concern among our caucus in the Senate about open carry because of our tourism. Some of the sheriffs had concerns about it. I still support it personally. I would vote for it, but I think we landed in a spot where we got a bill. So we have today, as it goes to the governor, as it goes back to the Senate passes it, we will have advanced Second Amendment rights for people who are law-abiding, and that's the key distinction. Those who are not law-abiding, we're also running bills that Representative Garrison has to make it a lot tougher for people who steal guns out of cars, who commit acts of violence with guns. We want to hammer those folks. We want to go after those folks, while at the same time allowing people to defend themselves and those they love with a weapon if needed.
Did you reach out, or did any of your team reach out to Representative Beltran after he filed his open carry amendment earlier this week?
I mean, we talked about it. There were some problems, and the NRA identified some of those problems with the way he drafted that would have made things worse, not better, from their perspective, from my perspective. He saw that, and he had an opportunity today to speak about why he thinks open carry is an easier piece of that concealed carry, that carry legislation. I get that. Many states have, including blue states, have open carry in their laws. I don't think it would set the world on fire or cause, quite the scenario that some of its opponents have suggested. However, again, there's a lot of things I don't get as speaker that I want, and I'm very, very happy that this bill moves us forward, expands rights in a way that are material, they're important. I think it is constitutional carry by taking away an additional, bureaucratic step in that process as long as you pass a background check and, meet the other criteria where you're not disqualified from keeping and bearing arms. And I think that is what constitutional carry is. It's how it's been defined by many, many people. And so we become the 26th state to enact constitutional carry, and I'm proud of that.
Speaker, the Commerce Committee passed the first step of the bill that would ban children from going into adult drag shows, essentially. There were groups that were saying there was kind of a theme that we picked up. There's some of the groups who were drag performers were saying that they feel like they're being attacked, and they're saying the LGBT community, the whole session feels like they're being attacked by the Republican-led legislature, and then you got Republican lawmakers saying that, we feel like we don't need to be here in the first place. I don't know if you can offer a comment about that.
Sure. I mean, I think you'll hear nobody saying that adults, if adult wants to be a drag queen or go to a drag queen show, that's their right. There's nothing that we're doing in the legislature this year that affects that in any way, shape, or form. So it's not an attack on them. What it is a response to an effort, a regrettable effort by some adults, in this case drag queens, who seem to be obsessed with pushing their lifestyle on children. And so my point, and I think the point of our members and our side of the aisle, is let kids be kids. There's a time for them to make decisions about sexual issues, and they will do so. And we will support whatever their decision is when they become adults. But that when you look at some of the websites, and I have, that say, look, we're looking as drag queens to basically, my words, desensitize children and really, get them thinking about gender dysphoria that they never had. They were, looking forward to playing blocks with their brother or sister or going out on the playground as my son or daughter would do. Just let them be kids. And so we need to make sure that we, and I'm making this point to your question, that's what our focus is. And it's what we said in education is, look, when almost half of our kids are not reading on grade level, and Florida's ahead of higher up the the charts in this area than the rest of the nation. That is not good. We are falling behind to countries like China. When we have that much ground to cover on something as basic as reading, which is fundamental to learning and success in life, all this other stuff needs to be out of the picture. We need to stop all of this stuff, whether it's, these crazy books that are in library shelves, and just focus on reading, math, core knowledge to succeed in life. That is a bipartisan issue. It's something we all agree with. And let's go after and have interventions for the kids who are struggling. So we leave nobody behind. So every kid starts with a meaningful world-class education when they graduate from a Florida high school. And we're going to keep our focus on that. The drag queens need to go do drag queen shows with adults and leave the kids alone.
On the defamation bill?
I'm sorry, I'm going to...
Survivors rally outside of the Capitol yesterday, and they called rolling this school safety aspect in with permitless carry insensitive. And I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, there's a lot of different Parkland parents who have different views on the issue of the Second Amendment, as you know, and I think they support the school safety bill. We support both of those bills, and so it's really more of a function of how you bring bills together and negotiate to get bills across the finish line. And these were two good things that both fit into one bill, so that's why they're there. It's as simple as that. You have Parkland parents who are also rallying on behalf of what we're doing on the death penalty, in favor of what we're doing on the death penalty, which of course we support. And so you have, as in any group of people with a different perspective on the issue of the Second Amendment. So I respect their views in opposition, but I also know that there are Parkland parents and families who, like other families, support what we're doing today on the Second Amendment.
On the defamation bill, Congressman Corey Mills today said he wrote a letter to you and the Senate President in which he asked you guys to reassess this bill. And in fact, he said, this bill is not only unpatriotic, but it is not representative of the free state of Florida. I was curious your response.
Was he I haven't received his letter. I don't know if he was referring to that or the other bill that I spoke to, which I do oppose, which was going to register members of the media.
This is defamation. He specifically says, I am gravely concerned that they violate the free speech rights that are enshrined in the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. They will stifle all media voices, whether liberal, conservative, or neutral, that your constituents have come to trust.
Yeah, well, I think free speech rights are really, really important. Media rights are very, very important. I think the purpose of this bill is to be a test case for New York Times v. Sullivan to say, okay, is there any limit at all, really, as it's been applied, or have we gone too far? And the court may come back and say, no, we like it just the way it is. So it's not intended to undermine free speech. It's simply designed to create a challenge and allow, as the governor has asked for, to have the court give a second look at that aspect of defamation. Because remember, defamation is defamation. Truth is a defense to defamation. So if it's true, that's an absolute defense to defamation. So what we're really talking about is have we come to a place, and I'm not picking journalists or picking sides here, but whether it's somebody from this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle that is weaponizing anonymous sources that maybe don't really exist? Are they using or hiding behind a court decision that's now really becoming about spreading false information, spreading lies about people, defaming people? That's what a defamation bill is about fundamentally. Truth is always a defense. If it's a true story, you're out on your ear and maybe going to have attorney's fees that you have to pay for bringing that lawsuit, that defamation lawsuit, because the article that was written was a true article or reasonably based on true information.
But you're acknowledging then that the bill is unconstitutional.
I'm acknowledging that the bill is designed to challenge current constitutional law, which we may do in other aspects too. Our abortion bill last year, with respect to the state constitutional privacy language, which we don't believe covers abortion, actually would be a challenge to that. There is a challenge for that. That's a good thing. In other words, we're letting the third branch of government, the judicial branch, work. And they're going to tell us whether we're right or wrong, and they'll tell us on that bill whether we're right or wrong on defamation. And look, fundamentally, I agree with Congressman Mills on free speech. I think free speech, and we're having these conversations internally right now, is, look, even though we don't necessarily like something, sometimes there's just things that we can't preclude. I don't like the fact that people burn flags, but I think Justice Scalia, who was known as a conservative jurist, was right to say, even though that's offensive to you, it's still protected by the First Amendment. And so we're having those conversations with respect to drag queens and all these things we've been talking about to make sure we hit the right line. Free speech is absolutely one of the most fundamentally important things that we have. And so it's not designed to upend that at all, but simply to tee up a court case so the court can tell us whether, given where we are, whether that's still the constitutional law of the land in that area.
Mr. Speaker, given the pace of the session with your priorities passing
The slow pace of this session?
very slow, snail's pace, I was just curious, do you think that you're going to be able to pass all of the governor's priorities before this Holy Week coming up and in advance of, his campaign?
No, I think we have a lot of the governor's priorities in a really good spot. We'll pass them, and you haven't specified any, but yeah, we have a lot of the governor's agenda moving along very nicely in the House, and I believe it is also in the Senate. So I'm very optimistic. We're moving quickly so that all of these priorities are going to get done, and so yeah, I don't have any concerns there at all. I think we're moving along very, very well.
Well, one of his priorities is a PBM bill, which
Yeah.
has not seen the light of day. I know
And
next week.
it's
but-
coming up next week.
I know, but it seems like other issues like towards
Mhm.
affordable housing, the budget's out, how much of a priority is the PBM issue?
I think it's a good bill. It's a priority.
How about immigration? That's not been up for.
Yeah, we're going to address immigration as well. And so, when we address it, we've got, 8 or 9 weeks to get bills back and forth. And so, but we absolutely intend to move the governor's priorities along and where there's differences in the House and Senate versions to align those. And you've seen some of the bills here recently where there was, better alignment, where we were able to pass them out quickly. Some of those will need a few more weeks to get them aligned. But yeah, we're having those conversations
And just
actively.
for clarification, do you think that they'll be done before Easter and Holy Week?
I mean,
or do you think not?
Give me a few more weeks. I mean, that's only the halfway mark. But I don't know if we'll have all of the governor's priorities done by Holy Week. But we're going to have them done, and it will be, I think, a monumental session. And some of what the governor's proposed is monumental, and it's good, and we support it 100%. Who did I not call on yet?
You're going to have a package of election laws.
Yes.
That is not urged at this point, right?
No.
Give us a suggestion of when that may be and what it may include and what issues it might address.
No. No. There will be an elections bill, and it'll be coming out shortly. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see where we might. I think we'll address that issue at some point, but I don't know if it'll be in that bill or not. Maybe.
North Carolina recently voted to expand Medicaid. Curious if that's on the table at all in Florida, as we consider all the people about to lose Medicaid with the disenrollment.
Yeah, I think the issue with Medicaid, and I think what you'll see in our budget is what we have done is look at our reimbursement rate for pediatric care, which I think is one of the things I'm very, very excited about, because I think that will mean the difference between a doctor perhaps not wanting to see, or very few doctors wanting to see children that are on Medicaid, to many doctors, all doctors wanting to see children on Medicaid. And so that I know is something important to Chair Garrison, to Chair Leak, to myself, that we take care of children. And I think we're going to do a lot of things this session that are pro-child. You can call that it's not an expansion of eligibility, which is what you're saying happened in North Carolina, but it is an expansion unequivocally of access. And so we are doing those things in that area, in other areas that are beneficial to the wellness of people. But I think Florida's Medicaid program is pretty robust when you talk about, children who are in poverty, the disabled, the elderly, people that we would describe as the true safety net. And the challenge with the Medicaid expansion is you're moving into an area of a big group of adult, non-disabled, working age people that really, if they were working even half-time, would qualify for one of the Obamacare plans, bronze, silver, or gold. And so it's not, and beyond that, it's not something we want to do because of the economic commitment that we would make there. We just don't think that's the right way to go. The better way to go is to try to bring down the cost of care, private insurance and other insurance, to increase access while still maintaining quality.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, no
Thank you,
bonus
guys.
questions today.